You want to know if a guy truly likes you, and I mean has genuine burning desire for you and only you, because there's a huge difference between a guy who's, just being nice and a guy who's actually wanting to take you out on dates. And most people, unfortunately, they struggle to tell the difference, especially when there's not an explicit, hey, can I get your number? Hey, can I ask you out? I actually had a client the other day that was like, I don't know if this Friday night dinner's a date. I'm like, baby, it's a date. So let me share you guys a lot of embarrassment and some confusing thoughts where you're like, is he actually wanting to take me out on a date? Let's clear this up today. No more guessing, no more confusion. So let me paint you a picture. We got two different guys, same situation. You're both in line at the coffee shop, and one guy, asks a little bit about you, same as the other guy. Both are being friendly, both are being polite, but one is just being nice, trying to kill some time, and the other, he's thinking about, I wonder if she's open for a date, but I'm a bit nervous. So funny enough, I found myself in this exact situation. I'm a pretty gregarious guy. Gregarious is just a fancy term for being like, I'm a pretty nice guy. I talk to just about anyone. And later, when I become friends with some people that I met, they'll think like, oh, I thought you were kind of into me. I thought you were going to ask me out. I'm like, oh, no, I'm just killing some time. I'm chatty. I'll ask for people's Instagram. I'm a connector. So I'm here to settle this because I've seen it, because this was pointed out to me, and now I can show you exactly why this tends to happen. So let me clear off my board here because we'll be doing some drawing. And let's talk about sign number one, that this guy actually has, intentions for you and kind of wants to see you a little bit more. So sign number one is deeper convos. Right? So a guy that initiates a chat with you, does he seem genuinely interested in what you're saying? Because a person that is just kind of chatting to chat, they'll often talk about the weather and they're kind of half on their phone. Is he actually asking you follow-up questions, remembering details that you mentioned, and then going deeper in them? If you say you're an author and he's asking about the types of books, he's asking about the publishing process and how you got into that, that's a very good sign that he wants to know a lot more about you. A guy that's just like kind of interested is like, oh, books, that's kind of cool. I like to read books too. They'll kind of pivot the conversation back to themselves. But a person that really likes you wants to learn a lot more about you. Or another sign is they start bragging about themselves, because a lot of guys have this false belief that if they talk, they're like, I'm so great that she's going to like me. Yeah, it doesn't really work. But it's all about his level of investment. So if he's asking you a lot of questions, increased amount of questions about you and going deeper on topics, then he is very likely into you. Because oftentimes people that they're not into you, they don't really care. Everyone, you can kind of take this as a baseline assumption, everyone pretty much just cares about themselves. If you just use that assumption in life, that will get you pretty far. Let's talk about eye contact. Eye contact is actually a bit of a tricky one because we have to go over two separate scenarios here. Yeah, giving you guys a quiz at the end of it. You guys better pay attention because I'm giving you a quiz at the end of this. All right, when you're talking to a man, does he hold your gaze just a little bit longer than usual? The kind of flirty stare where it's kind of making your heart beat. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm starting to get the butterflies. And he might even laugh. He might look away momentarily. He may start, catching a glance at you. And then your eyes meet again. And this is all because he's trying to attract you. And he may not even consciously think like, oh, I got to stare at her eyes for this long. I got to make additional eye contact. But if you catch him looking at you, there's a good chance. And now this might be harder to gauge if you've never spoken to this guy before. But if you catch him staring at you, quickly looking away, like when he sees you nose, oh shit, he could be interested, and he's just a little bit too intimidated to talk to you. Now, another guy, a guy that like really is a bit more on the nervous side, might be like, dang, she bad. She's so attractive, and he can barely look, but he'll catch a glance at you. So I'm always suggesting for women, I know a lot of my philosophy is we want to attract and not chase. But what we can do, if we catch some guy making eye contact to us, we can always go up and ask, we can ask a question that kind of gets us in the door. So let's say he's at the bar. You can go up and just ask, what are you going to order? What are you ordering? What are you ordering? Let's say you're in line at a coffee shop. Hey, what are you going to order? Just give an inch and let him take a mile, right? Like I always say, plant the seed, let him water it. Let's say you're at a bar. You're like, oh, what crap, he's not at the bar. Go up, maybe, do you guys know where the bathroom is here? And you might think, oh, that's not the sexiest thing to say, but you just have to, it doesn't matter how you get into the conversation. You just have to say something. Back in the day, they used to have this, handkerchief approach where Victorian era women would drop a white handkerchief and then the guy would go scoop it up and use it as an excuse to talk to him. And we all know the women initiated that conversation, but she didn't have to do that much. She just dropped the handkerchief and let the guy do all the work from there. So ladies, do not be afraid to strike up a conversation, even if it is as simple as, hey, what are you going to order? That is enough. A guy that really likes you and a guy that wants to push it forward will continue to ask you questions and will continue to go for it. I'll give you an example. I was at the gym the other day and a really cute woman came up to me and said, "Hey, would you mind if you watch my bag real quick?" She kind of came out of the blue. And usually at the gym, that's a no approach zone. You guys got to remember, guys are actually a bit terrified to approach. Now, I used to coach guys back in the day, and it was literally like you'd have to push them into conversations. A lot of women, they have this experience where guys do approach them, but that's like 5% of the population. So there's a lot of good guys that aren't going to approach. So this was a very subtle trick that she used. "Hey, can you watch my bag?" And that gave her the opportunity that when she came back from the bathroom to come talk to me. Be creative, ladies. Be creative. All right. Let's go into number 3, how to tell if he is interested. He's going to be advertising his status. And what does that mean? What advertising his status? So a guy who's genuinely interested in you wants to remove as many barriers as possible. You know, a guy that feels uncomfortable with you talking to him, especially if he has like a wife or a girlfriend or something, he will try to insert his relationship status in here about, sorry, like, I'm actually here with my girlfriend. Oh yeah, I moved here with my girlfriend. Oh yeah, my wife is, we live in this building. You know, he's trying to shut it down. So, but if a guy doesn't have those and he's interested, he's going to tell you, oh yeah, single guy. He might actually, this is one I've seen guys use a lot, is he will infer, he'll be like, "Oh, are you here with your boyfriend? Oh, are you going to order for your boyfriend?" Because he's trying to assume and he's hoping that you'll correct him, right? So a guy that really is interested in you will want to put out the bait to say like, "Oh, will she correct me? Will she say, 'Oh no, I'm actually single?'" Because that gives them the opportunity to ask you out. Now, some guys, truthfully, like they're just dogs, and even if you had a boyfriend or a husband, they would go for it anyway. Those are not the kinds of guys we want to attract here on the show. So let's get into number 4, and this kind of corresponds to number 1, is full attention. Full attention. This is super. In the world of the internet, with all these advices, a man truly cannot get away from all the bloop, 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 notifications. I'm sure you experience it too. If he silences his phone, stops looking at his watch, stops looking at his emails, and starts really talking to you, no concern whatsoever for what's going on his phone, he's very likely to be interested. If he stops checking the email, stops typing the text, and, stops looking at other women, because, guys do be checking it out. If he's giving you his full interest, he is interested in something else. Let's get to number 5, and this is a good one. He gets personal. So we talked a little bit earlier about how he'll ask about your life, and this is more than just engaging conversation. He wants to know you on the inside, and he's also hoping that you're going to be asking him questions about his life, right? So it's kind of a give and take. Like, he's going to ask you a bunch of questions, and he's kind of subtly hoping, like, dang, I hope she asks me some questions too. I hope she's interested in me too. Because guys, we don't really know. We also have that same, like, is she just being friendly, or is she like actually interested in me? Because guys, they get nervous too. So if he's showing a genuine interest in your personal life and you start showing a genuine interest in his personal life, you're in a very good spot there.